6 weeks into doing the kettlebell mile twice a week, my dentist asked me if I'd started doing something different. Not my doctor, my dentist. He said my jaw tension, something he'd been monitoring for years, had completely resolved. I hadn't told him about my training. I hadn't connected the two things at all. And when I started digging into why a loaded carry protocol would affect jaw tension, I discovered something that changed how I think about training completely. The what the hell effect of the kettlebell mile. If you watched my previous video on the what the hell effect, you know this phenomenon. Unexpected improvements in things you never trained, appearing as a result of training something else entirely. But the kettlebell mile creates a different category of what the hell moments than swings do. And some of these are so unexpected, so seemingly unrelated to walking with weights, that I had to research extensively just to understand the mechanisms. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to walk through 5 specific what the hell moments that happen from kettlebell mile training. Real reports, real mechanisms, real explanations for why carrying weight while walking creates ripple effects throughout completely unrelated systems in your body. But first, let's talk about why the kettlebell mile specifically tends to produce different what the hell effects than other kettlebell training. Stay with me. This connects in ways you won't expect. Let's get into it. Why the kettlebell mile creates unique what the hell effects. Here's what makes this protocol different from swings, snatches, or other dynamic kettlebell exercises. The kettlebell mile is sustained. It's not explosive bursts followed by rest. It's continuous tension, continuous postural demand, continuous low-level stress over an extended period. This sustained nature means your body is forced to find efficient solutions to a prolonged challenge. It's not about generating maximum power for a brief moment. It's about maintaining function under load for 15 to 30 minutes continuously. This creates a completely different type of adaptation. Think about it this way. Explosive training, like swings, tends to create what the hell effects, related to power, speed, and athletic performance. But sustained loaded carries tend to create what the hell effects related to posture, breathing patterns, postural muscle endurance, and systems that are connected to how your body holds itself over time. This is exactly why my dentist noticed something about my jaw. Jaw tension is often connected to postural patterns throughout your entire body. Specifically, it's connected to how your neck, shoulders, and upper back hold themselves, which is directly connected to how your core and pelvis are positioned, which is directly connected to your overall postural chain. The kettlebell mile, by forcing you to maintain good posture under load for an extended period, retrains this entire chain, and the effects ripple upward, sometimes literally, to areas you'd never connect to walking with weights in your hands. Let me walk through 5 specific examples of this ripple effect in action. What the hell moment 1. Jaw tension and TMJ symptoms improving. Let's start with the one that happened to me. TMJ, or temporomandibular joint dysfunction, affects a significant portion of adults. Jaw clicking, tension, headaches related to jaw clenching, even tooth grinding at night. Most people who experience this seek solutions specifically targeting the jaw. Mouth guards, jaw exercises, stress management for the face. Here's the connection that almost nobody makes. Your jaw position is influenced by your head position, which is influenced by your neck position, which is influenced by your upper back posture, which is influenced by your shoulder position, which is influenced by your core stability and pelvic positioning. This is sometimes called the postural chain or kinetic chain, and it's far more interconnected than most people realize. Forward head posture, the kind that develops from sitting at desks and looking at phones, pulls your jaw position backward and downward. This altered jaw position changes how your jaw muscles work, often leading to compensatory clenching patterns, which is a major contributor to TMJ symptoms. The kettlebell mile requires you to maintain an upright posture, chest up, shoulders back, head in a neutral position over your spine for an extended period under load. If you let your head drift forward, the weight becomes much harder to manage efficiently. So your body learns, through repeated practice, to maintain that head position naturally. Over weeks, this postural pattern becomes more automatic, even outside of training. Your default head position improves, and as your head position improves, the postural demands on your jaw decrease. The clenching pattern that was compensating for poor posture has less reason to exist. This is why my dentist noticed a change. He'd been treating the symptom, jaw tension, for years. The Kettlebell Mile addressed something further down the kinetic chain, and the symptom resolved as a downstream effect. I've since heard from other people who've experienced similar things: reduced jaw clenching, fewer tension headaches that originate from the jaw and temple area, even improvements in how their bite feels. None of these people were doing the Kettlebell Mile for jaw issues. They were doing it for general fitness, and this was a complete surprise. What the hell moment 2? Breathing pattern and anxiety symptoms changing. Here's another one that seems completely unrelated on the surface. Many people, more than realize it, breathe in a dysfunctional pattern called chest breathing or paradoxical breathing. Instead of breathing primarily with the diaphragm, which causes the belly to expand on inhale, they breathe primarily with the upper chest and shoulders, with minimal diaphragmatic movement. This breathing pattern is strongly associated with chronic stress and anxiety. It's actually part of the body's stress response, the fight or flight pattern, becoming the default rather than the exception. People who breathe this way chronically often report feeling more anxious, more on edge, even when nothing specific is causing stress. Here's the connection to the Kettlebell Mile. When you're carrying significant weight and walking, your core needs to brace effectively to support your spine. But here's the thing: effective core bracing requires proper diaphragmatic function. If you're chest breathing while trying to brace your core for loaded carries, you'll find it incredibly difficult to maintain good posture and breathing simultaneously. The protocol essentially forces a choice. Either you learn to breathe more diaphragmatically while maintaining core tension, which is actually very possible and is how your diaphragm is designed to work alongside core stability, or your performance suffers significantly. Most people, through repeated practice, naturally shift toward better breathing mechanics because it simply works better for the task. What happens when your default breathing pattern shifts toward more diaphragmatic breathing, even partially? Your baseline stress response changes. Diaphragmatic breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, as opposed to chest breathing, which is associated with the sympathetic fight or flight system. People have reported feeling generally calmer throughout their day after weeks of Kettlebell Mile training. Not because anything in their life changed, but because their default breathing pattern shifted from one associated with chronic low-grade stress activation to one associated with calm. This is a profound what the hell moment, because anxiety and breathing patterns feel like psychological or medical issues, not things you'd fix by carrying kettlebells around your yard. But the body doesn't separate these systems the way our categories of medicine and fitness do. What the hell moment 3? Improved balance and reduced fall risk, especially in older adults. This one is particularly significant because fall risk is one of the most serious health concerns for older adults, often leading to a cascade of negative health outcomes following a fall. Here's what's happening. Balance isn't just about your inner ear or your leg strength in isolation. Balance is a complex integration of multiple systems: your vestibular system, your proprioception, meaning your body's sense of where it is in space, your core stability, and your ability to make rapid postural adjustments. The Kettlebell Mile challenges all of these simultaneously. Walking with asymmetric loads, especially with suitcase carries where weight is in one hand, forces your body to constantly make micro-adjustments to maintain balance. Your proprioceptive system, the sensors throughout your muscles and joints that tell your brain where your body is, gets a workout that very few other activities provide. Additionally, the core strength developed through this protocol directly supports balance. Your core is essentially your body's foundation for all movement, including the rapid adjustments needed to prevent a fall. Here's the what the hell moment that's been reported, particularly among older participants. Improved confidence on uneven terrain, fewer near falls or stumbles. Better recovery when something does cause a stumble, catching themselves rather than falling. These improvements weren't the goal. People started this protocol for strength or general fitness, and the balance improvements were a complete surprise, often only noticed when someone commented on it. Like, hey, you used to be more careful on stairs. Or you caught yourself really quickly there. For an aging population where falls are a leading cause of serious injury, This what the hell effect might honestly be one of the most important, even though it's rarely the reason anyone starts this type of training. What the hell moment 4. Improved sleep quality, particularly for side sleepers with shoulder pain. This one connects to something specific. Many people who sleep on their sides experience shoulder pain, either from the shoulder they're lying on or sometimes both shoulders due to compensatory positions. This shoulder discomfort often disrupts sleep, causing people to wake up and shift positions repeatedly throughout the night. The connection to the kettlebell mile involves the scapular stabilizers, the muscles around your shoulder blade that control how your shoulder blade sits on your rib cage. When these muscles are weak or imbalanced, your shoulder joint can sit in a position that creates impingement or pressure points, especially when you're lying on that shoulder. Carrying weight, particularly farmers' carries where the weight pulls down on your shoulders, forces these scapular stabilizers to work continuously to keep your shoulder blades in a stable, healthy position. Over time, this builds endurance in these muscles and can improve the resting position of your shoulder blade. When your shoulder blade sits in a better position, the structures around your shoulder joint have more space, reducing impingement and pressure when you're lying on that side. Several people have reported, after weeks of this training, that they can sleep on their previously problematic side without the pain that used to wake them up. This is a what the hell moment, because shoulder pain during sleep feels like a sleep problem or a shoulder problem, something you'd address with a different pillow, a different mattress, or specific shoulder exercises. The idea that walking around your yard with kettlebells would resolve this feels disconnected. But the mechanism, improved scapular stability leading to better shoulder joint positioning, makes complete sense once you understand it. What the hell moment 5. Improved digestion and reduced bloating. This is perhaps the most unexpected one on this list, and the one that took the most explanation to understand when I first encountered reports of it. Here's the connection. Your digestive organs sit within your abdominal cavity, and the position and function of this cavity is significantly influenced by your posture and core function. When you have poor posture, particularly the forward-leaning, compressed posture common with desk work, your abdominal cavity becomes compressed. This can affect digestive organ position and function, potentially contributing to issues like bloating, slower digestion, and discomfort after eating. Additionally, your diaphragm, which we discussed earlier in the breathing context, doesn't just control breathing. It also plays a role in digestive function through its movement, which creates a kind of internal massage effect on your digestive organs with each breath. The kettlebell mile improves posture, which decompresses your abdominal cavity, giving your digestive organs more space to function properly. It also, as discussed, often improves diaphragmatic breathing, which enhances that internal massaging effect on your digestive system. The reports here include reduced bloating after meals, feeling less digestive discomfort generally, and in some cases improved regularity. None of these people started this protocol thinking about their digestion. They were thinking about strength, fitness, maybe weight management. The digestive improvements were a complete surprise, often described as, I don't know why, but my stomach just feels better these days. The common thread connecting all 5 moments. Here's what's fascinating when you look at all 5 of these together. Jaw tension, anxiety and breathing, balance and fall risk, shoulder pain during sleep, and digestion. On the surface, these seem like 5 completely unrelated systems. A dentist issue, a mental health issue, a geriatric concern, a sleep issue, and a digestive issue. But every single one of them connects back to the same underlying factor, posture and the postural chain, and how your body holds and positions itself over time, not just during a workout, but as your default state throughout your day. The kettlebell mile, because it's a sustained loaded activity that demands good posture for it to be performed efficiently, essentially forces a postural reset that with enough repetition becomes your new normal. And because so many seemingly unrelated bodily systems are connected to posture, the ripple effects show up in places you'd never think to look. This is different from the what the hell effects of explosive kettlebell training, which tend to show up as improved athletic performance in other activities. The kettlebell mile's what the hell effects tend to show up as improved baseline function in systems connected to how your body exists in space over time. How to maximize these effects? If you want to experience these what the hell moments yourself, here's what matters most. Focus on posture quality over weight or distance, especially when you're starting out. The benefits we've discussed come from maintaining good positioning under load, not from how heavy the weights are or how far you go. Pay attention to your breathing during the carries. Try to breathe into your belly, allowing it to expand, rather than just breathing into your upper chest. This might feel difficult at first if you're a chronic chest breather, but it's a skill that improves with practice. Include both farmer's carries and suitcase carries in your routine. The bilateral farmer's carry builds general postural strength, while the unilateral suitcase carry challenges balance and core stability in ways that contribute to the balance-related benefits. Be consistent. Most of these effects, the postural retraining, the breathing pattern shifts, the balance improvements, come from repetition over weeks, not from a single session. 2 to 3 times per week, consistently for at least 6 to 8 weeks, seems to be where these effects start becoming noticeable. And finally, pay attention to your body in areas you wouldn't normally connect to fitness. Your jaw, your digestion, your sleep quality, your stress levels throughout the day, your balance and confidence on uneven surfaces. These are the areas where the what the hell effects of this protocol tend to show up. Your challenge. Here's what I want you to do. If you're already doing the Kettlebell Mile, start paying attention to these 5 areas specifically over the next month. Keep a simple note on your phone. Jaw tension, breathing, balance, sleep, digestion. Just brief notes once a week on how things are going in these areas. If you haven't started yet, begin with the protocol from my previous video, focusing especially on posture and breathing as I described. Then track these same 5 areas. After 4 to 6 weeks, look back at your notes. I'd be willing to bet that at least one of these 5 areas shows an improvement you wouldn't have connected to your training if you hadn't been specifically watching for it. If you experience any of these what the hell moments, drop a comment and let me know which one surprised you most. I read these, and honestly, some of the most interesting connections I've learned about have come from viewers sharing their own unexpected results. And if you want to understand more about how posture connects to seemingly unrelated areas of health and how simple protocols like this one create these wide-ranging effects, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The what the hell effect of the Kettlebell Mile. Jaw tension resolving, anxiety and breathing patterns shifting, balance improving and fall risk decreasing, shoulder pain during sleep disappearing, digestion improving, 5 completely different systems, all connected through the same underlying mechanism, posture, and how your body holds itself over time. You started this protocol for strength, for fitness, for general health. But the ripple effects might show up in places you never expected to look. I'll see you in the next video. Now go for that walk and pay attention to what changes,